Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Joe Hohenstein. I'm a state representative in Philadelphia, and really appreciate everybody coming. Without further ado, because this is not a day about us legislators, but it is a day about seeing our trans people who live with us and enjoy their lives with us, and who love us and who we love them. It is their day, and I'm going to turn it over now to AJ Suggs. And AJ, get everything going, and we'll get moving, okay?
Thank you. Oh, come on, y'all, just a little bit. Thank you. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is AJ Scruggs. My pronouns are he, him, they, them, and king. Use them all or just use my name. I am your master of ceremonies for this afternoon's rally. We have put together this rally for safe and equal schools with great dynamic speakers from all over the state of Pennsylvania to address the issues of attacking kids in school. We want safe schools for all, and I just want to remind you why we are here really quickly. We are here today to stand up for safe and equal schools because we know that when schools are safe, affirming for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and trans kids, all of our kids feel safer in schools and have better mental health outcomes. We're here because we know that in schools with trans inclusive policies, there's no increase in any kind of negative incidences in school bathrooms and facilities. But the opposite is actually true in schools that discriminate against trans kids. They face more harassment and abuse in bathrooms and locker rooms. We're here because we know that a book about diversity is good for all kids. What's bad for kids is banning books so they can't so they can't learn about themselves, their families, or others like them. We are here because our Safe and Equal Schools bill package are now in the Education Committee of the PA State House. We are calling on the Education Committee Chair, Peter Schreier, to call hearings and schedule a vote on HB 1997, HB 1998, HB 1999, and HB 2024. Without further ado, we are going to get started with our list of dynamic speakers. First, we are going to have a parent and her daughter, Elle. They are involved with local agency groups and advocacy groups, in their town, and because they love where they live. Elle understands a lot about the world, and these two have sadly been no strangers to extremism. They are going to give a speech because Elle asked to after attending previous events with the PA Coalition for Trans Youth. Elle loves to read and dance, and she's in the 2nd grade. Welcome Elle and her mom.
Either that or we'll lift the microphone down to her. Huh? Pull it on. I'm going to speak first, and then I'll pass it down to her. Okay, thank you. This is my daughter and I's 3rd time attending a rally in Harrisburg and our 1st time speaking. We live in a very red part of the state of Pennsylvania. Pride flags are scarce, opinions are loud. Teachers and principals are allies, but mostly behind closed doors, never at board meetings. Acceptance outside of the network of support that we have built for my daughter is not expected, but rather always feels like a pleasant surprise when we encounter it. When my daughter was in kindergarten, she told me that she thought she was the only transgender person in Pennsylvania. She can spot those scarce pride flags from a mile away. She sees all the teeny tiny ally bumper stickers on the cars that we pass and on the doorways of establishments. She analyzes the rainbows she finds down to the order of the stripes and the colors included to see if they are pride rainbows. She sees the trans flag pin on the backpack of her camp counselor. She whispers in my ear, "Mom, pride flag," not daring to speak certain words out loud in mixed company. She searches for visible signs that she is safe everywhere she goes. She looks for visible signs that someone will understand her and accept her for her because she knows she cannot take her acceptance by others for granted. Visibility, it's how she keeps herself safe. My husband and I have always tried to follow her lead as far as how visible she wants to be to the world. We have tried our best to, as gently as possible, make sure that she understands potential outcomes of that visibility, both positive and negative. So when she told me she wanted to give a speech after our last visit to the Capitol, I told her that I thought she would inspire a lot of people, but that there could also be some not good people who might see her speak. Not good people. She knows what that means. She read the words on a Transgender Day of Remembrance display at a church. She heard what I said and she told me, "It's okay. I still want to give a speech because I want other trans kids to see me and to know that it's okay to be transgender. I want to help change trans kids' lives." And I realized that my daughter, my 7-year-old, who searches for signs of acceptance everywhere we go, wants to be visible because she knows what it feels like to find light in darkness. She wants to be a light for others, a light that doesn't have to hide, so that others don't have to hide either. There are so many things that I could say to the not good people who will hear this speech, but today I am not going to give them the power of our attention. Because my daughter wakes up every day and chooses hope, and she chooses to be herself in an unfriendly world. And she shows me every single day that she is a bigger person and a better person than all of those who would oppress her. She is incredible. All of our children are. And they deserve to learn in a safe, supportive environment, just like their peers. They don't deserve to feel fear of being bullied. And they don't deserve to feel alone in that fear so that their only options at school are to hide or to leave. They deserve schools that protect them and tell them what we know is true. You are incredible, and the world is a better place because you are here, and we are going to protect you. And we are so proud of you. I am so proud of you. I am proud to see you and to know you and to stand beside you. Almost as proud as I am to be the mother of this amazing, beautiful, brave little girl. Hold on. Are you good, honey?
My name is Eleanor and I am transgender. When I grow up, I want to be a teacher so my students know they don't have to hide who they are. When I grow up, I want to be an activist so I can help the people who need the most help. When I grow up, I want to be a mom so that my kids will know I love them for who they are. When I grow up, I want to be the president so that no one has to leave the country because they don't feel safe. When I grow up, the world will be a better place because bullies never win if you stand up to them. When I grow up, I'll still be transgender, even though sometimes it feels hard. Because when I grow up, I'm still going to be me, no matter what.
Did amazing.
For those that don't know, I'm a crybaby, and I'm over here misty. Elle, I just want to give you some affirmation. You already are. You're already an activist. You're already doing that work. So keep walking in that truth, baby, please. Our next person hails from the city of Pittsburgh. Dana Stanley. Dina Stanley is a founder and executive director of Trans Uniting. She is an activist. Dina is a current resident. Why is that doing that? Is a current resident of Etna. Okay. So, and an appointee to Etna's new Commission of Human Relations Board of Directors. She is a prominent social justice warrior amongst the Black trans community and consistently working to better our communities' lives in Pittsburgh. Come on up, sis.
I don't know how I'm going to follow that act of the young person, but you're amazing. And keep on being amazing, okay? So, like my brother, AJ said, I am Dina Stanley. I am from Pittsburgh. I'm one of the 2 trans-led organizations, Black trans-led organizations in Pittsburgh. We do have a community center in Pittsburgh, and I also run Pittsburgh Pride. So for me, as a Black trans woman, standing here is everything. Because when I was growing up and I was an athlete, I would have never thought I would have been here. I knew who I was, but I did not know how to get to this journey at all whatsoever. And I, every day, just look at these young folks and appreciate them for being able to be authentic and living their truth in schools. And these young folks give me hope every single day. I do want to take a moment just for the folks, the children that cannot be here, that are no longer with us. Because that's why we're fighting. That's why we're here. Those kids and these young kids that stand proud at young ages. When a lot of us, we knew who we were, but we really didn't have that type of courage. But no, young person, you have a lot of folks that are fighting hard for you, like myself. Know that I'm a Black trans woman. I'm a trans woman just like you. And I stand strong and I fight every day so you will be able to live. And that's what it's about. It's about these kids being able to go to school and be able to get an education free of discrimination, harassment, and bullying. For them to learn about their identity. They should be able to go to school and be free. We fight every day, and I thank every last one of you for standing here with us, because I would have never imagined this day, ever. But we're going to continue on fighting. We're going to make Pennsylvania, we're going to make this Commonwealth a sanctuary for trans folks. We're going to show the rest of the country what it truly means for every single human being to be free and live authentically and not have to worry about going to school and being bullied for just being themselves, for being able to play in the sport that they want to play in, to be able to get the job that they want, the housing that they want, be able to go get health care and not be discriminated because of their identity or their sexual orientation. That's what we're going to do here in the state. And I'm going to continue to fight alongside all of these amazing people to make that happen. You're going to hear from a lot of amazing folks today, and you really need to listen. Bring folks, record it, share it, because this message is important. We are human beings. We bleed just like you, and we demand the same access as everyone else. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Our next speaker is Representative Paul Takak. Representative Takak is a parent of a trans person, a fierce advocate for education, a key sponsor of the Safe and Equal Schools Bill package, and a trusted ally in my eyes. Representative?
Thank you, AJ. Representative Hohenstein and I were going to recognize all of our colleagues who are here today. It's a bipartisan group, but frankly, the list is far too long, and we would be here reading off names forever. But I want to thank each and every one of my colleagues who are standing here today as allies, as members of the LGBTQ caucus and community. And I'd like to particularly recognize several of my colleagues who are also parents of transgender people and students. And just, we want to recognize them because we have a very unique perspective on this issue, and it's deeply personal for us. And so I am really proud to stand here today in support of this slate of legislation that will level the playing field for all students and to help them to thrive while also keeping them safe. They deserve a supportive learning environment that allows them to grow and to develop into the best possible version of themselves. My bill, which is House Bill 1999, requires school districts to develop and adopt a clear policy to extend anti-bullying protections to include transgender and non-binary students, to establish best practices for supporting those students while respecting their privacy, and to adopt respectful, inclusive practices such as support for preferred pronouns. Look, it's crucial that school districts support all their students and do everything they can to foster an environment that's conducive to learning and personal development, but free from bullying, discrimination, and intolerance. And when it comes to supporting transgender and non-binary students, the question is not if, but when. And failing to do so can come at a truly tragic cost. Today, transgender and non-binary youth are more likely than their peers to not only experience bullying and abuse and even violence. That has serious short and long-term consequences. They're more likely to skip school, their grades are more likely to suffer, and they're more likely to drop out. But worse, and this statistic hits really home, almost half of trans and non-binary students have seriously considered suicide in the last year. They're more likely than their peers to be treated and admitted for suicide or self-harm. Look, bullying and intolerance are significant contributors to the mental health care crisis we're seeing in our schools and our communities, and it has too many heartbreaking consequences. As I said, being the father of a transgender child, this hits really close to home, but I'm just one of tens of thousands of parents, faculty, friends, educators across our Commonwealth. We recognize that many schools already do an outstanding job of supporting transgender and non-binary students and their families, but that support should not depend on your zip code. Every student should feel safe and supported in school. But make no mistake, this is about freedom. This is about the freedom for every student, for every person, to be who they are and to live authentically without fear of harm, violence, or discrimination. I urge my colleagues on both sides of the aisle, please join me in supporting this bill to help protect students from bullying and discrimination. Thank you, AJ.
All right, we are getting the job done. Thank you, thank you, Representative. So the next person I would like to bring up is Ashley Strange, This month, Ashley was appointed as the new executive director for the Governor's Advisory Commission on LGBTQ Affairs. The Governor's Advisory Commission makes recommendations to the governor on policies and legislation that impact the Commonwealth and help ensure that communities they represent have a voice in state government. I would like to present to you Ashley Strange.
Good afternoon. I'm Ashley Strange. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm the Executive Director for the Governor's Advisory Commission on LGBTQ Affairs. And I'm honored to be here representing the Governor on Trans Day of Visibility. I'm not just here getting help from the Governor, but I also got some help from my friends back there with this tie, so I appreciate us all standing up for each other here. The LGBTQ Advisory Commission to Governor Shapiro is made up of LGBTQ folks from all over the state, and it's our mission to collect information about our issues and be a conduit between the queer community and the governor. As a trans non-binary person, I've experienced a lot of what it feels like to be unseen and unheard. There's a difference between being seen and being gawked at, a difference between being represented and being mocked, a difference between addressing issues and sweeping them under the rug. Trans Day of Visibility is not just about seeing trans people, but seeing trans joy. Yes? All right. Had to make sure. The policies that our commission and the governor are working on right now will help expand protections and safety for trans and gender expansive Pennsylvanians, because it's hard to be joyful when we're unsafe. We're addressing health inequities in our community, because it's hard to be happy when we're not healthy. And we're expanding protections for LGBTQ youth in schools, because we know that kids learn and grow best when they can be their full, authentic selves. Governor Shapiro has championed the Fairness Act and urged our legislators to support that bill and others that uplift our community and not tear us down. As he says, no matter what you look like, where you come from, who you love, or who you pray to, you have a place here in Pennsylvania. I want you to know that you can reach out to me and the commission to give feedback to the governor and his team, because we are here for you, and there's a seat at the table with your name on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. I appreciate that so much. Come on, heartstrings is being pulled. We are moving on to our next speaker, who is a member of the PAC 40, as we like to call the PA Coalition for Trans Youth. Alec Walker Serrano of NEPA Stands Up. MEPA, sorry, Jesus, I can't read today. Alec was born and raised in Lackawanna County and spent K through 12 in the public school system. He currently serves as a chair of NEPA Stands Up LGBTQ committee. Come on up.
Good afternoon. My name is Alec. I'm a trans-masculine person. I use he, him, and they, them pronouns. And like AJ said, I grew up in Lackawanna County, and I spent 12 years in the public school system there. My journey of my gender discovery is one I'm sure many other trans folks can relate to. I knew something was different about me from the time I entered preschool. When I played house with girls in my class, I was always the dad. When teachers in elementary school asked us to line up boys on one side and girls on the other, I didn't know where I was supposed to go. And the first time I ever told a classmate at age 8 that in my dreams at night I was a boy, he laughed at me. I hadn't heard the word transgender until I was a teenager. As a child, I was simply taught that being trans, being different, was something to be ashamed of. I spent my years of adolescence in denial. I was trying so hard to be the girl that everyone expected me to be. I had friends, I got straight A's, I was an athlete, a musician, a mock trialer, an actor, but I was not a happy child. Inside, I was carrying the deep pain of not being known and a fear that if I were to show people who I really was, I would be shunned. I was afraid that I wouldn't be loved. I can recall watching a short film at 15 by Ruby Rose called Break Free, where the actress transforms from a hyper-feminine version of herself into a confident, masculine figure, and it made me cry. And then I couldn't stop crying. I couldn't deny the truth to myself any longer. I'm not a girl. I never was one. When I started to wear masculine clothing at school, though, I was laughed at by people who passed by me in the hallways. They called me names that I don't care to repeat. Like many other queer teens at the time, I experienced the negative effects of a culture that was still largely ignorant about transgender people. But things began to change when I went to college. I was struck when professors asked what our pronouns were, when they encouraged us to learn about LGBTQ history, when they emphasized it. I was so grateful that I could find a group of queer friends who didn't skip a beat at using my name or my pronouns. Without them, I wouldn't have the courage to stand in front of you today. Without them, I don't know that I would be here at all. In the mid-2010s, trans people were becoming visible in the media. Even people outside of my liberal college campus were more accepting. Parents of trans youth were listening to, loving, and accepting their kids. Gender-affirming care was becoming more accessible to people across the gender spectrum. And for the first time in my life, I had hope for a better future for myself and for my community. 5 years ago today, I had hope that trans kids would have an easier time than I did growing up. But it's worse than I could have ever imagined it would be at this moment in time. Not even a quarter of the way through this year, over 500 anti-trans bills have been introduced into legislatures in the United States. School boards in this very Commonwealth are banning books that feature LGBTQ characters and pride flags in classrooms. They're instructing staff to intentionally deadname and misgender their students, denying equal access to bathrooms and locker rooms, and barring students from participating in sports. I can only imagine how much harder it would have been for me in school had I been pushed out of sports, out of extracurriculars, had I been bullied by the very administration that is meant to keep all students safe. But we don't have to imagine how hard it would have been for me, because we know that this is the reality for far too many trans and non-binary kids in this very Commonwealth. It's long past time that we address the cruelty taking place against LGBTQ+ students in schools and hold those schools to a higher standard of care for all of our young people. They deserve the same opportunities as any other kid. They deserve to be respected, to feel loved, to feel safe and affirmed, to be encouraged, included, and to be visible. Had the Safe and Equal Schools package been enshrined into law when I was in school, it would have fundamentally altered my experience. I would have learned that trans and queer people have always existed, that we have a history, that I was never alone. I would have known that I could safely go to administrations about bullying in the hallways. I would have known I would be affirmed when sharing the name I wanted to be called, which funnily enough, as a young boy, was Al. And that's now what I've been affectionately nicknamed by my family, short for Alec. Had I been welcomed as a trans person in school, I would have believed as a teenager that I could make a difference in the world as my authentic self. 10 years later, I now know that to be true. I can make a difference. All of us can. As trans and non-binary elders, we make a difference by standing up, speaking out, and by being visible today and every day. As trans and non-binary kids and families that are impacted directly, they make a difference because they're here sharing their stories courageously. Allies that are here with us today, you make a difference by using your power and privilege to speak up when trans and non-binary people are impacted. And Chair Schweier and the members of the Education Committee can also make a difference. And they can make a difference by scheduling a hearing on House Bills 1997, 1998, 1999, and 2024. You can use your power to ensure that protecting LGBTQ kids is a priority. These bills cannot wait. They are life-altering, life-saving. There are changes that we have to make in our public school system because trans kids, they can't wait. We owe it to them to get these bills passed so that they can have a present and future that is safe and affirming. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex, so much. Ooh, these speeches are very powerful. The next person I am bringing up is a powerhouse from the city of Pittsburgh, Ciora Thomas, the ED of Sisters PGH. Ciora is a Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania native and executive director of Sisters PGH, who founded the nonprofit in 2013. Because of her own struggles as a teenage homeless sex worker who saw no real opportunities for herself or others to thrive independently as a Black trans adolescent. For over a decade, Ciora has been committed to bridging the gaps between transgender and cisgender communities while building equity and direct mutual aid platforms for trans people. Ciora Thomas, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much for having me. So again, my name is Ciora Thomas, founder and executive director of Sisters PGH, the longest running Black trans women-led nonprofit in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I'm so honored to be here today supporting our trans youth and reminding the state and this country that we as trans and non-binary people have always been here and we will continue to be here. I don't have to tell you that our community is enduring a lot right now. And I also want to send my love to Jesse. We love you, we care about you, and we honor and lift you up always. State houses across the U.S. are attacking our rights to exist through hateful and senseless legislation instead of focusing on the real issues that impact all of us. Issues like health care, climate change, living wages, systemic transphobia, safe and affordable housing for trans people without the transphobic red tape, and gun violence that affects us all, especially our Black trans youth being gunned down in the streets for being automatically or for being authentically a rose within a thorn bush that isn't protecting them. Cis folks in leadership continuing to devalue our leadership, divide and conquering our communities to use us to only be tokenized and heard until we are too loud or having grievances with their leadership, thus not providing holistic service or support to trans Pennsylvanians. No, instead, they are launching a disgusting campaigns aimed at demeaning trans people in an attempt to erase us from society, but that will never happen. Because, let me be clear, there is nothing to debate. Trans and non-binary people have always existed, and there will never be a world without us. And let me repeat, there will never be a world without us. We are people with dreams, hopes, visions. We are leaders, allies, and we have problems like everyone else. We want a roof over our heads. We want groceries and medication we can afford. We want our youth protected. We want to provide for our families, to see our friends thrive and our communities flourish. We want safety. We want dignity. We want and demand liberation. We want and demand health care for trans youth. We cannot continue living in a world where kids like Next Benedict are bullied and beaten to the point of death. We cannot continue living in a world where families are moving across state lines because their trans children are not safe in communities where they lived their whole lives. We cannot continue living in a world where queer and trans youth are struggling with their mental health as a result of endless discrimination. This is something each of us can have a role in. We know that queer and trans youth who report having at least one accepting adult in their lives were 40% less likely to report suicide attempts in the past year. All of this takes one supportive adult. We have to check in with the next generation and ensure that they have everything they need to not just survive, but thrive. We must continue to call out every bit of transphobia we hear and see. No matter how small it may seem, this includes even within our TLGBTQIA community. We must root our systemic misogyny, misogynoir, and racism that underscores so much of animosity of our community is facing. And what does this mean? This means that our white trans siblings must do more as well. We need you to stand up to your white cis transphobes in power like we stand up to our Black transphobes in power. I'm going to fight for you through my mere existence, and we need you to fight for us too. All of us have to keep showing up. We have to show up on social media. We have to show up at our school boards. We have to show up in our churches and our unions and our family dinner tables. We have to show up at our city and county council meetings. We have to show up and demand our government does its job, the job that we pay them to do. We must demand proper representation from our own neighborhoods. We must demand our end. Thank you, brother. We must demand our end to an outstanding outsourcing and underfunding of our lives. We are the ones equipped to serve our communities properly and with dignity, and we won't take anything less. And I'm gonna leave you with this. We are the grandchildren and leaders of Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera. We must take up the torch and refuse to allow the system to divide us, to tokenize us, and to continue to dismantle and disfranchise us. Like Sylvia said, we have to be visible. We should not be ashamed of who we are. We should have to show the world that we are numerous. There are many of us out there. Again, I want to thank the young folks like Jesse and the young folks that are here today and everywhere for taking the lead and lighting the flame that will guide us into the fight. You are the future, and we at Sisters PGH are proud and honored to support you, whatever you do. I ask our elected allies to schedule the hearing and move these bills across the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Ciora. Appreciate you so much. Now, we were supposed to have a particular representative, but we're going to have Representative Jess Benham come up. Since they like to not give me bios, I'm going to speak very vividly about my memory of them coming aboard and being a part of this push in the beginning. They were one of the first group of representatives to take a meeting with the PA Coalition as we were looking for support behind putting this together. So I just want to thank them for constantly showing up and being a support. And now we will have Representative Jess Benham from the LGBTQ caucus at the State House.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Today I'm here with my co-chair of the LGBTQ plus Equality Caucus, Rep. Malcolm Kenyatta, and we're here to recognize and honor Trans Day of Visibility. We celebrate our trans siblings and their contributions to our collective movement toward justice. But we do not do this only today. Instead, we stand in pride and solidarity every day. Because here in Pennsylvania, we are no longer playing defense to the terrible legislation that anti-LGBTQ plus individuals are pushing, but instead we continue to proactively defend our rights. The freedom to marry who you love, the freedom to work, learn, and live without discrimination, the freedom to live your life as your authentic self with the name you choose. And today we're honored to join all of these advocates and activists alongside Rep. Hohenstein, Rep. Genst, Rep. Smith-Waddell, and Rep. Takak, as they introduce a legislative package to protect students from gender-based discrimination. It is critically important that we have a statewide policy for all public schools to prohibit student discrimination, to provide for inclusive bathrooms and locker rooms, to require age-appropriate curriculum that recognizes students' lived experiences, and to ensure respect for the privacy and identity of trans and non-binary students. I want all young people, but especially our trans siblings, to know that we have your back here in the Pennsylvania legislature, and that there are many, many elected officials who will defend your right to exist as the full, authentic human being that you are. So let's get these bills across the finish line.
About to say, come on, put the camera down. All right, our last speaker is another PAC 40 member. Glad to call her a sister. And in this fight, Rhea Morningstar is unapologetically transgender. She's an activist and organizer with the PA Coalition for Trans Youth, a photographer who has published 2 books along with her wife, Robin, a parent, a grandparent, and is also involved in the March on Harrisburg and many other causes. Rhea Morningstar, come on up here.
My name is Rhea. I am a 51-year-old woman of trans experience. I am self-loving, outspoken, and often quite joyful. Some call me a ray of sunshine. My grandkids call me a Ray Ray. For most of my life, I hid my true sense of self. I felt invisible, ashamed, trapped, even haunted by my struggles with gender dysphoria. I believed I had nobody to turn to, not the least of which during my high school or teenage years, when I overcame suicidal ideations more times than I care to revisit. I didn't trust anyone with my secret struggles. Growing up, positive representations of trans folks were scarce. No visibility, no internet, no community resources, and certainly no academic support. As a consequence, I lacked the language and self-awareness to explain or better understand why I felt so out of sync with my own body and the gender I was assigned at birth. When I did finally confide in someone at 22, they betrayed me, making me feel dirty, violated again, like the fragile and broken child I was who survived severe child abuse and Catholic schoolyard bullying. And as a result, I wore a veil over my true gender for almost 3 more decades. It's been a journey. I don't want trans youth to endure the same struggles myself and so many others like me have had to persevere through. Feeling suicidal, vulnerable, emotionally aloof, fractured, fearing rejection and far worse from strangers, friends, family, and society. But sadly, many of them do. Thanks to violent rhetoric, anti-trans bills, and attacks on civil rights in our schools. This is why trans visibility and trans joy are so important. It's precisely why the people that hate us manufacture a fake moral panic dehumanizing trans folks. They want to bring us backwards to a time when we were forced to exist in secret, invisible. They want trans invisibility, or they think trans invisibility will prevent trans youth from being themselves. Of course they're wrong, because it doesn't work that way. We are who we say we are. Trans youth are who they say they are. Their future is our future. I've always been trans. With the right environment, I would have met all of you much earlier in life as Rhea. I would have found the safety and courage to simply be myself before time weathered me, turning my hair gray and my joints sore from hard work. This is why we need to safeguard trans youth from discrimination, fortifying their right to be their whole selves fearlessly because their future is our future. We've all heard about tragic losses like Next Benedict, a 16-year-old Choctaw trans youth in Oklahoma described by their friends as two-spirit using he/they pronouns, who was bullied for months before being severely beaten in a high school bathroom. Extinguished from this world, their light extinguished from this world the next day. The partial autopsy report has revealed death by suicide. And sadly, the Tulsa County District Attorney, Stephen Kunzweiler, has publicly stated there will be no charges being filed for Next Benedict's death because of this report. Why does he think that they killed themselves in the first place? Their school failed Next in every way, with no consequences for the bullies or the real perpetrators, those stochastic terrorists in positions of power. But Next is not alone. The hate-fueled attacks against trans folks, often aimed at trans youth, have taken many young lives, including right here in Pennsylvania. I was going to say we've lost 5 trans people in Lancaster County where I live, But I just found out before this rally, we've lost another. In Lancaster County, the details are still coming out. The 5 I'm mentioning here range in age from 12 to 22. The most recent one, a young trans man and friend, Ash. And these have all happened in the past 2 years. So because I can't do call-outs, I'm going to read the names for you. Robin Bittenbender, Braden Snyder, River Olmsted, Thea Cassidy, and Ashton Clatterbuck. No trans youth, queer or otherwise, should feel devalued or demonized by anyone, especially reactionaries and fundamentalists that are clearly groomed into hatred. Because nobody is born with hate in their hearts. You have to be taught to hate. The solution is clear. We must create a world where trans people belong, no strings attached. The trans community can't do this on our own. The burden is too heavy to bear alone. Because every day feels like a requiem for our hopes and dreams. Every day, another funeral for one of our trans siblings. We need strong allies from the gender majority to step up and take action. That's why we're calling on Chair Schweier and the PA House Education Committee to schedule hearings and a vote on our safe and equal schools legislation, House Bills 1997, 1998, 1999, and 2024. Trans youth can't wait. We need these policies now. You must seize this moment. Trans youth deserve to be cherished and loved because their future is our future. Starting today, I propose Trans Day of Visibility is more than a celebration of the power of trans joy to mend wounded hearts, and trans folks sharing our stories, taking back the narrative, though these are keystones clearly. It should also be a time for allies to wake up their furious love for liberation to be more visibly unyielding and unyieldingly outspoken for trans lives. You too should be bold and visible in your advocacy for trans rights. Trans youth need allies willing to form a shield wall to protect them from bigotry and bullying so they can thrive to live to a better tomorrow. Their journey is our future, and they deserve political leaders who prioritize their well-being, leaders that don't make vague, meaningless promises or gentlemen's agreements with the people that hate us and lie about us. Case in point, a package of bills was just introduced in the State House that gives bigots a license to misgender trans folks. So much for no culture war bills during an election year. They know they won't pass. These people that hate us have no honor. They want us to suffer because suffering's the point. These bills and others like them should be a reminder that we need commitment from the people we elect, not empty promises. We want to feel safe and equal, not terrorized. This is why we need our political allies to unwaveringly fight for LGBTQ+ rights, because their future is our future. We want commitment from the people we elect, not empty promises. In a society where rigid gender norms are increasingly prevalent, where it feels like the walls are always closing in on us, the visibility of trans people like me is vital. It offers positive role models, validates experiences, and fosters a sense of belonging crucial for self-esteem and resilience. You've heard me say it before, so I'll say it again. We are transcendent. We walk in the footsteps of those trailblazers that came before us, and we will keep blazing a trail to liberation, not merely for ourselves, but for the future generations yet to come. So let's reaffirm our commitment to recognizing the power of visibility and protecting trans youth so that we can, as a society, transcend the hatred and ignorance together, building a world beyond dystopia that celebrates trans identities and commemorates our contributions. I'm going to read a poem to you that I wrote called A God That Loves You. In the temple of the heart, where dreams reside, I, mother of love and queer pride, Speak to the beautiful souls who embrace their true forms. Trans youth, brave and bold, weathering the manufactured storms. In the depths of uncertainty, I extend to you my hands, guiding you through the shifting sands. Like me descending into the underworld's embrace, you, trans youth, navigate shadows with divine grace. Embrace your essence like sacred clay, molded by a mother's hands in the ancient way. Your journey, your journey mirrors mine through dark and light, emerging triumphant from the depths of night. In the dance of transcendency, find your power in every step, every hour. With each natural turn, a new joy you will find in the tapestry of existence beautifully entwined. So heed my call, O trans youth dear. Know that a mother's love and protection is always near. Yeah, there. For in your authenticity, you are divine too. So as we conclude this rally, we invite you to join us with one-on-one discussions with lawmakers about the importance of protecting all queer youth, making our schools safe and equal learning environments for all that nourish growing minds. History is written by the victors. Let's be the victors in our story, so no more trans youth have to suffer or take their own lives. Because remember this, their future is our future. Thank you.
Thank you, Rhea. I would like to take this opportunity to thank everybody that came out this afternoon to support, all of our partners, all of the folks from all over the Commonwealth. Thank y'all so much to our legislative partners and supports. Did I forget anybody? Thank you all, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Join us for our lobbying portion right after this.